Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Adam, and you are listening or watching the Zlisters podcast. Today, we have a movie review that I'm going to do of the most recent horror film, Passengers, directed by Andre Overdahl. It is a van life horror flick that takes a detour. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I felt and should you go see it. So let's get into it. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm just going to give my quick thoughts on how I felt. I just want to get this out of the way. I saw Obsession before this movie, and I think this really hindered my experience on how I felt about the movie. To coming to this movie was a big downfall on my part. Maybe if you enjoyed it, that's great. Just there was a big tone shift on how horror is filmed, and coming from an obsession that is not heavily relied on jump scares, more on the tension and the atmosphere. This movie, Passengers, does not do. It is heavily relied on jump scares. It does have some good tension build up throughout the movie, but I would say it really relies on the jump scare factor on this part of the movie. And not to say there were not good jump scares in this movie, but I felt like they really didn't flesh out more of the character's backstory. Some things were rushed. And if you're looking for a character enriched story, this might not be the film for you. So those are my quick thoughts about the film. And if you have seen the film, we are going to dive a little bit deeper into how I felt in specific scenes. So go see the movie. Always go watch movies in the theater. I highly recommend it. If you do not have an AMC A list, go ahead and purchase one. It is totally worth it. My plug for A list, two movies a month is definitely worth it. You'll make your money's worth. What starts off as a simple life adventure takes a horrific detour when Tyler and Maddie witness a gruesome vehicle accident that leaves the victim dead. They soon realize they did not leave the scene alone. A demonic presence called the Passenger is now after them. It won't stop them until it claims them both. This film was directed by Andre Overdahl. Haven't, to be honest, I have not seen any of his films, so I was intrigued to see what his take on horror is. So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the film and specific scenes that I enjoy or maybe I didn't enjoy. So starting off with the good in this movie is just a few specific scenes for me. I definitely enjoy the intro of the movie, which personally I felt faltered due to, I believe, is called trailer hype. The whole first trailer that I saw of this movie was basically this opening and beginning shot of the movie, which got me really hyped. It would build great suspense, but we do not stick with that character, obviously. We soon find out that we are transitioning to this couple with Tyler and Maddie that go out, sell their apartment, cancel the lease, and transition their apartment home life into van life and travel the country, which personally, I cannot live out of a suitcase. Living in that van, man, I would feel really dirty. I'd need a hot shower every night. And finding somewhere to shower and somewhere to park that van every day will be very problematic for me. Just personal feelings. But in regards to the characters, Tyler, Maddie, performance doesn't blow you away. It's your two generic couples in a horror movie. But what I actually enjoyed was in Tyler aspect when throughout the movie that when Maddie is seeing this apparition, the passenger, it doesn't take the normal route where Tyler does not believe Maddie that nothing's going on. Eventually, halfway through the film, he starts seeing the passenger too, which I thought was fun. Well, not funny, but good because I always hate the trope where it's always one person that sees it and the other one doesn't believe it. So they just dismiss how they're feeling. So we go out through the rest of this movie showing that both of them are trying to escape the passenger. We are introduced to a character named Diana. How I felt about these movies and how I always feel about specific characters, how they're introduced. And this one kind of failed for me because I believe this character was more introduced to help our character figure out and move along into the story, but it was more through exposition dumping in telling the story. to like push the character and progress later in the film. Of course, she did add a lot of lore into the passenger apparition itself, but sometimes I just don't like when directors or storyboard writers do not trust their audience to figure it out themselves. They have to spoon feed you information to make sure that you are following along with the story. And I like to say with the movie Session that just came out along with it, it takes a totally different tone. It does not spoon feed you information. You have to be paying attention what's going on with the characters. And I just don't think this movie did that really well. They were just going on and on about the lore, about specifically they show a book about the hobo code and all the codes to follow the signs when what to do and what not to do. And I just thought it was very gimmicky at that point. And what bugged me the most is when they're in the store and Maddie is skimming through the book on Horror Highway of America's book or whatever it's called, and she comes across that code and she's like, "Oh, I've seen this before." Instead of just taking a picture or remembering to look it up in the lab, she buys the book itself just for that specific page, even though we live in the age of 2026. And they show many times that she is looking up in the MacBook or whatever her computer is. And at this point in the movie, I'm like, oh my God, it's kind of dragging. They're just trying to build suspense on this character, which is not really that scary. Just like sometimes it just shows up. I'm talking a lot of negative, but I do want to give it its praise on this specific scene that I enjoyed thoroughly in suspense is when Maddie and Tyler are at the gym. Maddie is heading back to the van, and the camera work was really good here because I like if it was a one shot, it was done really well. It is like a 360 rotating camera on the POV of Maddie. She is walking back to the van, and of course, when the van comes out of frame, it gets further. So it's building more tension, and the noises are done really well because it feels like someone is walking up behind her, even though there's no one there. And it continues all the way through until she gets to the van. And I like the utilization of the cameras around the van to build suspense and see where the passenger is. But so during this point of the movie, they try to heavily emphasize the St. Christopher's pennant. So during this time, she gets attacked inside the van and she uses the pennant to ward the passenger off, which I think is okay. It's more like a MacGuffin type of thing. But later in the movie, you see that when Tyler and Maddie starts dealing with the passenger with them both, they buy all the St. Christopher's pennants from the gas station, which have absolutely no use in this film, other than when we get to the end, they're trying to find the church. Like I said, it's just like another MacGuffin trying to defeat this monster. So you get to the point where they are on their way to find the church and they have a flat tire. This is another point of the film that I really enjoyed also. A lot of suspense build up. And so Maddie and Tyler go out and try to change the tire while Tyler is trying to change. Maddie is hypnotized and pulled away from the van while Tyler is still changing. And when they come back together, all the lug nuts are gone. Tyler has no idea where they're at. Both of them don't know where they're at. And they've been told many times in this movie, do not drive at night. I do not know why they keep driving at night. Just stay somewhere in a motel. And speaking of motel, I don't know where they're getting all this money from. I know they mentioned that Tyler works remotely and is going to have a good paying job, but going out and living in the van for 6 weeks, I don't know what type of income they have. They must have some type of money in reserve to do all this. But going back to the main plot, obviously the lug nuts were taken by the passenger and they were put on underneath the car. So Tyler goes underneath, tries to take all of them and bring them back. Well, of course, Maddie gets sidetracked and gets pulled away, and she gets taken by the passenger, and Tyler gets trapped underneath the car. Oh my God. So specifically with me, I always tell Austin and Maynard that noises affect me the most in horror movies, and I was definitely covering my ears in this scene because when the vehicle falls on his leg and is scraping his leg, the noise was utilized very well at this point. And I just could not look at the screen, which I give its credit to. But why is Tyler having this small ass jack on this big Mercedes van? He needs an industrial sized one, but that's just personal grievances with me. Eventually, when Tyler gets the tire back on and has the quickest tire change ever I've seen in my life, goes on the road and finds Maddie in the middle of the road and almost hits her, but doesn't. He stops just in time. And they still keep driving at night. They do not stop anywhere. And they are trying to find this church that Diana told them about, that a someone in the past was able to get to this church and avoid this apparition, the passenger. So they're going and driving until they pass a sign, and Maddie notices one of the hobo coat signs in the background, and she says, and it shows one of those arrows saying that this is the correct way, which is fine. It's right in your face. It tells you this is the right way. But she goes off road and they keep showing that she is running low on gas, which they never get back into. They never run out of gas. So they keep following the signs, keep churning down into some desert. And they find the left behinds of a car, which indicates they're heading in the right direction. And with another hobo code on there, this is the right direction. And they come upon the church, but they are stopped by a field of bodies, which was placed by the passenger to try to ward off and scare them away from the church because the passenger knows they are getting close to the church, but they go ahead and just keep going through it. I don't know about y'all, but if you are trying to get away from the passenger itself and you see a pile of bodies, I'm going straight to the church and just ending it now. I'm not having any second thoughts. And at this point in the movie, why is Tyler out of the vehicle? I know he is trying to direct the way and trying to find the right way, but could you not do that inside the car? It was a small obstacles to where they had to move through, weave in and out of stuff. It was a big desert, open field. That bugged me a lot. So they get to the church and they have pennants that they bought in the past from the trucker station of the St. Christopher's pennants, and it's hung all over the van. It does absolutely nothing to the passenger. The passenger opens the back of the van and takes all of it. So there was no point to that. Absolutely nothing. So they are getting close. Tyler gets snatched by the passenger and is just Maddie in the car driving closer to the church. The passenger is trying to stop her, but of course succumbs to the church's power and she drives straight into the church. Especially with what's going on nowadays, people are driving into restaurants and stuff. I thought it was very funny, but that's what she does. And the passenger is right in the front, and she is hitting him repeatedly back and forth into the St. Christopher statue. And my God, I always think it's very gimmicky at this point of the movie and just going back and forth and overtly show you a big staff and it's slowly going down. And that's what they're going to use to kill the passenger. I get just get it over with. But I know this is a dramatic scene in the third act. But Maddie does eventually stab the passenger through the chest and kills the demonic energy of the passenger and finally gets rid of it. But with that power comes a big explosion and catches the church on fire. That's fine. I mean, she escapes with no harm or no injuries at all, besides her fingers that she got crushed in the door earlier in the movie. How are they getting back? Well, luckily enough, it was teased at the beginning of the movie so overtly. It's like, oh, I'm just making sure our GPS works. Tyler brings that out, calls a distress signal, and mess and police come by. And that's where our movie ends. So obviously, I was just ranting about how these horror movies nowadays rely on jump scares, which there was a lot in this movie. Few good ones, but not overly the best and throughout the whole movie. So, getting into our a new little segment since we're doing solo reviews now. I'm going to be doing solo reviews. Manor might be doing solo reviews, and Austin might be doing solo reviews depending on our schedule. But I want to introduce a new Z-Listers theater verdict of must see, worth it, matinee, stream it, or just skip it. So I'm going to be putting this movie on that scale to see what I thought. And on this scale of passengers, I think you should just wait for to stream it. It's not a bad movie. I overall give it a 4 out of 10, basically a 2 out of 5 on the letterbox scale. It's nothing special. And I like to say that maybe Obsession before this movie heavily affected my rating on this type of horror film. But there's a new audience in horror, and I believe the audience is smarter than these writers actually think we are. And I think they just can create a different type of scare factor instead of relying on these jump scares and loud sounds. So, those are my thoughts on the new 2026 film Passenger. If you enjoy these solo reviews, please feel free to leave a like. And if you want us to review any new upcoming movies, feel free to leave a comment. We'll be happy to see it. I enjoy going to the theater, even if it's alone. So feel free to subscribe, come back, listen to this review if you haven't seen it yet. We'll love to hear your feedback, and we'll see you on the next review. See ya.